DA, good morning. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for joining us. Always good to talk to you. And we've been discussing whether the 49ers are the best team in the NFL right now. Would you say yeah?
No. I mean, the Patriots, we can sit and say all we want about their offense or whatever, but they're to the point where their mystique seems to be taking the starts out of everybody almost before kickoff. So I just have to say the Patriots, that defense, the way other teams just completely self-destruction when they play them, I'll give it to the Patriots, and I'll put the Niners up there. I mean, the fact that they took apart the Carolina Panthers the way they did is very impressive. DA, this NFC, the top-heavy portion of the NFC, it's going to be very interesting what I call the back nine the rest of the season to see who emerges.
No question. When you look at the top 4, 5, 6 teams in the NFC, all of them have an argument of making the Super Bowl. And if we have a Final Four of, say, the Saints, the Niners, the Packers, and maybe the Seahawks or something, those are all really elite teams that could all be playing divisional round weekend, and 2 of them would be going home. Would you say the Saints are up there in terms of the best teams you've seen in the NFL this year?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're so good defensively. I know the storyline this week was Drew Brees and this and that, but defensively, that's been the glue all season long. And frankly, they should be undefeated. I mean, there was a call, a fumble, a Cam Jordan fumble return that was negated by an officiating call where they should have beat the Rams. And I mean, their defensive front is good, their linebackers are good, their secondary is exceptional. And look, the way they took apart the Cardinals, even without an Alvin Kamara and some pieces, they're just so good at every level right now. To me, that's the team, as well as the Packers have played, as well as some of these other teams have played, the Niners, the Seahawks. The Saints, to me, look like the most dangerous team, especially built for postseason in the NFC, but there's still so much more football to play.
Steve Wyche joins us from the NFL Network. I don't know if there's one person you can point the blame on in Cleveland because everything seems so bad, but how much of the responsibility has to fall on Freddie Kitchens' shoulders?
A good amount, because every week with the same broken record we keep hearing after the game. Oh, we're undisciplined. Oh, people aren't focused in. It's penalties. It's bad interceptions by Baker Mayfield. And also, look, the offensive line has not played well. And so everything we thought about the Cleveland Browns coming into the season as potential pitfalls has happened, right? They haven't been able to handle expectation. The offensive line hasn't played well. But Freddie Kitchens, with these penalties, with some of these questionable decisions he's making, they happen every game. And he's the head of the snake. So somehow, either he's not the right guy or somehow someone needs to kind of saddle up to him and be like, Freddie, you got to tighten things up how you run practice or whatever, because the same things are happening too often.
John Dorsey, I'm sure, does not want to make a coaching change after just one season. But if the Browns end up as a 5-11 outfit this year, is he going to be forced to?
Great question. I don't think he'd be forced to. I think there's a lot of faith in John Dorsey, but he's the one who chose Freddie Kitchens. There were a lot of people who wanted that job. Remember, Mike McCarthy wanted that job, and he chose Freddie Kitchens.
Josh McDaniels wanted the job, right?
I don't know how badly Josh wanted it.
Okay,
but he had a lot of other options that he could have gone to, and he went to a guy who was the part-time play caller last year. He wasn't even the interim head coach. I mean, Greg Williams did a pretty good job as interim head coach. Freddie did well calling plays, but now that he's got this overwhelming amount of responsibility, just too many things are slipping through the cracks. So I don't know if Dorsey was forced to make a coaching change, but if someone on the market came open, like let's say a Mike Tomlin, do you make a run at him? I mean, that's going to be an interesting offensive decision.
Steve Wyche joins us, NFL Network. Matt Nagy was pretty defensive yesterday about not trying to gain more yards before setting up for the potential game-winning field goal. Of course, the field goal was no good. Do you think that Nagy deserves criticism for not trying to push the ball a little bit more?
Yep, absolutely. I mean, he had a timeout, plenty of time on the clock, and excuses he gave. He says his team ran the ball well, but in that situation, he didn't want to run it because of potential for a fumble or the potential for negative yardage. And then he says, Mitch Trubisky, suppose he throws a pick or suppose he takes a sack. Well, suppose you get 5 yards on a run or you get it, located more center to the field for your kicker. Suppose the positive things happen. I mean, he's thinking these negative thoughts. That's no faith in your team. So, yeah, he absolutely deserves criticism right there, and I'm sure when he wakes up this morning and looks at the film or whatever, thinks about his decisions, he's not going to feel good about the way that was handled.
Yeah, he's coaching kind of scared. That's what that was.
Yeah,
and when you said, you're exactly right. When he rationalized the decision, it was all about all the negative things that could and would happen instead of the flip side of that. And I wonder, do you think that maybe he's a little shell-shocked right now because Mitchell Trubisky has not been nearly as good as we thought maybe coming into the season?
Yeah, not just Mitchell. I mean, their team hasn't been nearly as good. I mean, they were riding the wave of a lot of positivity. Everything worked well last season. The defense has been fantastic. Offense, which is Matt Nagy's side of the ball, has been terrible. I mean, they can't block. They can't run the ball. His play calling has been all over the place. So I think it's more than shell shock. I think he's kind of sitting there wondering, like, oh, my gosh, how are we going to get out of this mess?
Steve Wyche joins us, NFL Network. It's hard to say this is the best Packer team surrounding Aaron Rodgers because they won a Super Bowl 2010. But is this one of the best supporting casts that he has ever had in his career?
Without a doubt. And think about it. I mean, he's doing this. That game he played last night, he was a bunch of receivers who weren't supposed to be any good. But, the offensive line played well, a running game, and what Matt LaFleur's commitment to the running game has made all the difference to me and what they're doing offensively because it's opening up so much more in both the run and passing game. Aaron Rodgers seems content. And then defensively, I mean, even though they got a lot of points put up on them last night, they've made timely plays defensively. They've got pass rushers. They've got guys who can win individual battles. So I think other than the Super Bowl team, when they were loaded with, Charles Woodson and Tremont Williams was at his peak and this and that, I think this might be the most talented team Aaron Rodgers has had.
I wonder, why isn't Arthur Blank firing Dan Quinn? What's the biggest reason?
Great question. I'm real familiar with the organization. I know Arthur Blank well, and he is, as he's kind of aged and evolved as an owner, he's really stepped away from making emotional decisions. That's his call. But at some point, even if, look, he's got a couple former head coaches on his staff, and Dirk Cutter, Mike Mularkey, and Raheem Morris. At some point, you have to say, we have to do something. I've got to listen to my fans because I'm sure he sees the stadium is half empty. The team is just not playing well. It is routine mistakes, especially on the defensive side of the ball, which is Dan Quinn's strength. I think a move is going to be made. I don't know if he's waiting because maybe it's going to be more than just Dan Quinn. Maybe they clean house, and he doesn't want necessarily a singular scapegoat at this time. But they just can't finish out the season with the way they're playing right now. They're just sloppy. They show flashes. And plus, Arthur Blank is paying so many people on that team a lot of money to underperform. I frankly just can't see how Dan Quinn makes it all the way through.
Did you see this coming? Could you have predicted that the Falcons would be, I don't want to say this bad, but that they were going to have a hard time trying to be a winning team?
Absolutely not. I thought talent-wise they should be a playoff team. I mean, think about this. I mean, you got Devontae Freeman. They're paying all these offensive linemen. They drafted offensive linemen, I think, with their first two picks. Julio, it's Matt Ryan. It's stunning. You've got Grady Jarrett. You've got some really good players on defense, Deion Jones, and they are non-competitive. They look like they are not prepared for situational football. And there's no way in the world I would see this coming, even though they made the coaching changes that they made. Again, putting Mike Mularkey, bringing him back, and Dirk Cutter, bringing them back. These are good coaches. And the fact that things are just falling completely awry, to me, goes to show that now some guys are tuned out, that they're just not giving the effort.
Which starting quarterback should worry more about trying to get his job back, Cam Newton or Nick Foles?
Crazy as it may sound, I'd say Nick Foles. I think Cam, when he's healthy, will get a shot back, but Minshew, he's got it going down there. I mean, it's going to be a real interesting decision to see offensively what they're able to do and not able to do. If they pull the guys out right now. But I think Cam Newton would be the one more likely to get an opportunity, even though their team has played better with the backup.
Steve Wyche, NFL Network reporter. Watch him today. NFL Network's The Aftermath at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Follow him on Twitter as well, at Wyche89. Steve-O, it is always awesome to catch up, my man. Thanks so much. I'm sure we'll do it again.